Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. We are going to get started in just a minute, but welcome to the room. Please feel free to say hello in the chat, whatever you want to do to just say a quick hi. We are going to be keeping an eye on the chat, and we're looking forward to getting started soon. And to those who are just joining, we are really excited to have you with us today. We're just giving the room a minute to populate before we get started. I see some folks who are saying hello in the chat. Wonderful to have you all here. Oh, hi, Jeanette from VCU. Good to see you. Michael, good to see you from University of Mary Washington. I love to see all of our friends from the different schools. Lauren is going to kick us off here. Well, it's a minute after, so she's going to kick us off now.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us for the launch of our Virginia Micro-Internship Experience. I don't know about you, but I am very excited for this launch and to be connecting with so many of you across the state of Virginia. Next slide. So let's start with our Virginia state goals around this work. We know here in the state of Virginia, we have two main goals around work-based learning. First, we want to be the top state and across the nation for having the most internship-ready students, employers, and institutions of higher education. But we also want to make sure that every student, by the time they graduate and before they graduate, they have participated in one paid or credit bearing student internship or work based learning opportunity. And I'm going to back up because I didn't introduce myself. I am Dr. Lauren Jackson. I am the Associate for Innovative Work Based Learning here at the State Council of Higher Education for Virginia, leading these particular efforts here in SHEV and working closely with our partners at Parker Dewey. Next slide. And so, a little bit about the work that we do at VTOP or SHEV. So, I work at SHEV through our unit, Virginia Talent and Opportunity Partnership, also known as VTOP. So, you might have heard about VTOP. A little bit about what we do. We are a formally established collaboration between three entities: the State Council of Higher Education for Virginia, the Virginia Chamber Foundation, as well as the Virginia Business Higher Education Council. And we are actually funded through the Commonwealth Innovative Internship Fund. We are also grounded in statute here in Virginia. But then we have two main goals that really align with our state goals that I just mentioned. We want to make sure that we're facilitating the readiness of our students, our employers, as well as our institutions to really participate in these internship experiences, as well as these expanded work-based learning opportunities like project-based experiences and like what you're here for today, our micro-internship experiences. We also offer federal work-study transformation experiences for our students as well here in the state of Virginia. But then here at VTOP, we are very intentional about expanding these paid and credit-bearing student internships and those other work-based learning opportunities, really in collaboration with our higher ed institutions here, as well as our employers here in the state of Virginia. Next slide. And so, how do we meet our goals? So, we have an array of different resources here at VTOP that we engage our students in, that we engage our employers in, as well as our higher ed institutions. I'm not going to cover them all, but for our students, we engage our students in the career readiness modules. These are 8 NACE competency modules that students really engage in, that really employers are saying that they value in their interns and their employees. And really, through these modules, our students are really learning about the competencies that help them to really be set up for success as they're engaging with employers in the workforce. But then they're engaging in these kind of reflective activities that really allow them to articulate how they're gaining these skills. We also offer professional development scholarships that many of our graduate students and our professional students have really, and our professionals here in the state of Virginia have really enjoyed. You, through this particular scholarship, can apply for up to $2,500 to really cover the cost of attending a national conference or to support your membership fees for joining a professional organization that really aligns with our work around work-based learning and other relevant career fields. We also have recently launched as a fall our Teamship Virginia initiative, where it is a project-based experience that really allows teams of students here in the state of Virginia to really engage in solving real organizational problems for companies here in Virginia. And this experience actually culminates in a pitch day where students are able to present their solutions to industry professionals. As we look at what we do to engage and facilitate employers, we also have employer readiness modules for our employers that really prepares them to support students in work-based learning opportunities and engage in these hands-on work experiences. Then you might have recently heard, as of yesterday, we have really announced our top employer award nominees and those recipients who received that award. So every year in July, here in the state of Virginia, Chev has really led the way in recognizing top employers who have really created these meaningful internship experiences for students. So this year, our Virginia Intern Day, if you haven't already heard, mark your calendars. It will be held on July the 30th. Well, we'll be recognizing those top employers, as well as new this year, we will be recognizing our top 50 interns who have really transformed internship experiences across the Commonwealth. So if you know any of those employers, and when we get ready to announce our interns, we encourage you to congratulate them on a job well done. We also offer our Building Bridges mentorship and action program. Through this particular program, it's really designed specifically with employers in mind who really want to strengthen their talent development, their employer engagement, as well as their retention. And then finally, institutional readiness. We offer here at VTOP multiple grants that our institutions can apply for to really develop and start and launch or even scale access to expanded work-based learning opportunities for their students. We have institution-led partner grants, we have impact grants, student support and access grants, as well as data collection grants. Next slide. And so, as we're thinking about micro internships here in the state of Virginia and our Parker Dewey partnership, where do we start first? So, in 2024, higher education institutions as well as VTOP staff came together to form what they're calling the SB 1280 work group. And this work group was really focused on defining and really expanding access to meaningful work-based learning opportunities here in the state. One of those key developments from that work was really broadening those work-based learning definitions and activities to include many things, but one of those things was micro-internships, where they really define micro-internships around short-term, flexible, paid professional experiences where students can really apply their classroom learning to these real-world projects. They can build their career skills, and they can really take time to explore the various industries and complete career paths that they have an interest in. From there, here at VTOP in 2025, we really started to integrate our work in a national framework called the Jobs for the Future framework. And we intentionally integrated into our practice here at VTOP to really better align our programs really with this continuum of career development. And what we love about the JFF framework is that it includes these 4 stages that really guide students from early awareness through career preparation. And particularly, you see on the slide, stage 3, career exploration. It really emphasizes these structured short-term learning opportunities that really help students to build their industry knowledge and awareness. And micro internships is actually one of those career exploration activities that really aligns with stage 3. Then from there, we really just wanted to think about who in the field is doing this work in terms of partnerships. And so to really support VTOP's vision of creating micro internships across the Commonwealth and really to provide this, what we're calling this reimagined approach to career readiness, we decided that we wanted to partner with Parker Dewey, really because of their proven national model for delivering these high quality, scalable, Micro-Internship Experiences, and we believe that their platform provides this specialized micro-internship experience that really helps our students to get connected to those short-term paid professional projects. But most importantly, this partnership really allowed us to remove those common barriers that many of us have often seen that are associated with those work-based learning opportunities that our students really want to engage in. Things like those time constraints or geographic limitations and even employer capacity. And so we felt like partnering with Parker Dewey would be allow us to really offer these flexible opportunities that really fit alongside students' academic schedules while still really meeting the real workforce needs. But then, as we're thinking about Parker Dewey, we know that Parker Dewey has these established network and technology where we can efficiently match students with employers, track our outcomes, and ensure this consistent, high quality experience across the institutions here in the state of Virginia. But we also know that Parker Dewey has these existing relationships with many of you who are on the call today with our Virginia higher ed institutions, while also really tapping into, I'll say, the broader networks of Virginia-based employers. And that really would help us to meet our goals and accelerate our goals, both in scale and in the impact of our work. And as we're thinking about Parker Dewey, finally, I'll say that VTOP programs, as you've probably already seen, aligns with some of our nationally recognized NACE career readiness competencies. And Parker Dewey does the same. They really ensure that students are not only gaining experiences, but also really developing the skills that are just measurable, relevant, and transparent and transferable to future careers. And so as we were considering here at VTOP, who we wanted to partner with to launch this work, we knew that Parker Dewey would really be a great fit to help build and scale this work here in the Commonwealth. Next slide. So as we're thinking about really engaging Virginia post-secondary students in micro-internships, we really wanted to be intentional about ensuring that these particular experiences meet clear standards for quality, consistency, and student impact. So if you think back to a couple of slides ago, I talked a little bit about the SB 1280 report. It also actually outlines these key standards that really define what high quality work-based learning experiences across the Commonwealth really is. Some of those characteristics would be structured learning, career readiness, supervision, as well as reflective practice. And we intentionally decided to align the micro-internship program with those standards to really ensure that our students were engaging in these meaningful experiences, that we could show the impact of these experiences that they're having on our students' career readiness as well as their development. So structured learning, as we've already stated, micro-internships are these short-term paid project-based experiences. And for Parker Dewey, they have these clearly defined deliverables as well as professional guidance. And this structure really is going to allow, as we've been saying in the presentation today, allow these students to apply their classroom knowledge in these real-world settings while building skills, expanding their networks, and really starting to think through about how they develop their own professional identity. Second is career readiness. So through this particular program, students will be completing a career readiness module, and embedded into that module are these assignments that really reinforce these key competencies of NACE, National Association of Colleges and Employers, that really help students to strengthen their preparation for these professional environments, but then also helps them to clearly articulate their skills as well as their career goals. Next is supervision. So as part of this particular program, agencies would need to identify a qualified staff member to supervise the intern, but also offer career knowledge and mentorship as needed. And so employers will be expected to, or supervisors will be expected to meet with the intern twice, once at the beginning of the experience to provide that guidance and to discuss project goals and expectations. And then they'll meet with them one final time closer to the end of the experience to really offer feedback as well as complete the experience and celebrate the intern for completing their micro internship. And then finally is reflective practice. So we don't want students to just participate in these programs. We're seeing the trend in this work now is we need students to be reflecting on these experiences. So moving from just doing, but now that I'm doing and I'm engaging in these experiences, what does that mean for me moving forward? So we really want to be intentional of about integrating reflection into this particular micro internship. So a part of this program, students will, once they complete the experience, be asked to complete a post-program evaluation where they will assess their growth and their confidence across the NACE career readiness competencies. But then at the close of the experiences, they will be meeting with their supervisor to really reflect on their experience as well as their professional growth as a result of their participation in this micro internship program. Next slide, please. And so, from the SB 1280 definitions around micro internships and what really constitutes high quality work based learning experiences for our students here in the Commonwealth, to then aligning our work and integrating our work into the JFF framework, and then partnering with Parker Dewey, we felt like we were ready to really create our goals for our micro internship program. As you see, these align with our statewide goals as well as our VTOP goals because we wanted to ensure alignment and consistency across all of our state goals and our departmental goals. So, for the Virginia Micro-Internship Program, our goals will be, just like I've already stated, to expand work-based learning opportunities in collaboration with all of you all, our Virginia higher ed institutions, as well as our Virginia-based employers as well. But then we also want to facilitate the readiness of students, employers, and higher ed institutions to really participate in this work. And then finally, we really want to, as I think you've already heard, we really want to be intentional about supporting our students' career readiness by really allowing them to apply that classroom learning and make those connections with employers here in the state of Virginia, build their social capital so that they will be equipped and ready to move into more long-term traditional internships and then full-time employment here in the state of Virginia. Next slide.
And hello, everyone. I'm going to jump in now. My name is Danielle Ruger-Morowski. I am the Associate Director of Partnerships at Parker Dewey. And Lauren has already said just so many wonderful things about exactly why the partnership with Parker Dewey was chosen to be. But want to give you all some additional context and background as to who we are and why we're a part of this. So what is Parker Dewey? Parker Dewey is here to help. We're trying to make the college to career jump more accessible and more equitable, which is why we are just so excited to be part of this partnership. And there are really three groups of folks that we're trying to help. That's our logo with the three circles. And one of them is your students, your recent graduates, your early career talent. We are trying to create accessible opportunities for them to explore, to figure out where their skills fit and where they want to see themselves after graduation, and to get a foot in the door once they've got it figured out. The other circle are those employers, the folks who are looking for great talent, who want to make sure that they're connecting with students that would be a great fit for their organization, but may not have the time to engage in some of those traditional recruiting methods, or are strapped for time themselves. There are a lot of challenges employers face when it comes to early career hiring, and Parker Dewey is designed to be a support system for them. And then that third is all of you, our wonderful schools. You all are supporting both of these audiences, students and employers, in trying to facilitate meaningful connections. And we're here to help make that easier for you. So a little bit more detail about exactly how we do that. And it's via the micro internships. We are exclusively a micro internship platform. And these micro internships are short-term paid professional projects. So delving into the details of those elements, what we mean by project is there's always going to be a specific deliverable. So with a traditional internship or a full-time role, someone might be assigned ongoing responsibilities or tasks. With micro internships, there's something that student is completing, and that's what makes it considered a project. So when they're done with this experience, they can put on their resume that I created this email marketing campaign, or I designed these materials, or I investigated this concept. There's something they have done. And because they're done with the micro internship when they're done with the project, that means these are very short term. They're also typically remote. So, a couple of ways that that really helps students is when it comes to accessibility. A lot of students do not have a lot of time on their hands. Especially student athletes, first generation students, non-traditional students, Pell eligible students. They often have work responsibilities, family care responsibilities, game and practice schedules. Students just have a lot on their plates. So these short-term experiences give them the opportunity to explore in a way that doesn't require a big commitment so they can make more informed decisions about where they want to be in the future. On the employer side, these are also pretty reflective and reflexive of their needs in terms of timelines. So companies can post a project, and usually within a week or so, they're able to make a selection of their micro intern after the project has been approved and posted. So this is super easy for employers, in part because we, Parker Dewey, act as the employer of record. Now, another hallmark of micro internships on the Parker Dewey platform is that they are always paid. Now, typically, how this works is the companies would fund the projects. They're getting a project done, they're getting meaningful insights about the work that micro intern is doing and who they are as a candidate. So it makes sense that they would fund the project. But the exciting thing about this Virginia Micro-Internship Experience is that that cost is covered for Virginia employers. But how it works with Parker Dewey being the employer of record is it means, regardless of whether they are doing projects funded through this experience or if they decide to go on into the future and fund their own, the student gets paid by Parker Dewey. If a company is self-funding, they only get an invoice after they have selected their micro interns. And with the Virginia Micro Internship Experience, that's where the funding is coming for those experiences. So, what that means for the student is they are able to complete experiences with different companies and try things out on Parker Dewey without having to do an onboarding experience with each employer. They also know that we are reputable, so they don't have fears about someone trying to steal their identity or having their information in the wrong hands. So basically, it gives them that freedom to explore, knowing that they're going to be paid for their work. So with these projects, the ones funded by the Virginia Micro-Internship Experience, students are going to earn $315 upon completion. And again, that is no cost to the employers that they're getting to connect with and the employers that are getting projects done. Another hallmark of micro internships is the projects are always professional. So they're using knowledge or skills related to what students are learning in their degree programs. So you could see projects from marketing, from operations, research, business, all different types of industries. What you won't see things is, I need someone to paint my fence or walk my dog. Nothing wrong with those things, just not what Parker Dewey is for. And ultimately, even though this is really accessible and appealing and fantastic for students looking to launch their careers, it's also doing a great service to those employers. And with this program, especially those Virginia employers, because it's giving them a way to access the talent in the state that, yes, is already in the state, but if they don't have transportation, even opportunities in state may have otherwise been inaccessible to them. It's allowing them to engage them in a meaningful way, assess their skills, so that way these employers can make decisions about whether someone is a good fit for longer term opportunities, like traditional internships or full-time roles, not just based on a resume, not just on an interview, but after actually having seen how that student works on a project.
Thank you so much, Danielle. So, as we're moving forward, really thinking about some high level just facts about this particular program, we wanted to first start with letting you know that this program is open to our undergraduate students who are currently enrolled in nonprofit, public, or private 2 year or 4 year Virginia college or university. So, that's about 66 institutions that will be impacted by this work. And then for our employers, they should be Virginia based for-profit or nonprofit organizations, whether that's government, public, or private agencies, and they need to have active and physical operations here in the state of Virginia. We really want to make sure that we continue to support statewide employers. We want to make sure that we're fueling the Virginia economy and really providing our employers here in the state with opportunities to make sure that we're keeping our talent here in the state of Virginia. And then as we're thinking about the dates of the program is really structured around two terms: a summer term where it would run from May 13th to July 31st, and then a fall term from September 13th to November 30th. And what will happen is Parker Dewey will be collaborating with our employers to really scope and schedule projects within these particular designated time frames. But we also felt like offering both these terms really provides employees with the flexibility to really engage when it aligns with their operational capacity, whether it's in the summer, the fall, or across both terms. And this flexibility will also allow us to make sure that we close up any seats that maybe were unfilled during the summer hiring to be then offered in the fall. So for example, if for whatever reason we only have 55 students who are hired in the fall, then the rest of the seats we will have for the spring, the rest of the seats we will have open and available for the fall. Funding, Danielle already stated, but we are so excited that while some other programs, employers have to cover all of the costs, through this particular program, we are so excited that we will be supporting up to 110 students, and employers may hire up to 3 students each as long as we have seats remaining available for that 110. Once all 110 seats have been filled, no additional projects will be available. Payments. So as we already stated, students will be paid $315 for one 15-hour project. And typically this might range from 1 to 3 weeks, where a student might complete all 15 hours in 1 week, or a student might complete 5 hours for 3 weeks. That's really just something that the employer will really need to determine when they're posting their projects. What will be the start date and the end date of the project? As you're connecting with your employer partners, they really want to be thinking about, like, what is a realistic time frame that students can complete this project for that particular company or that agency. Also, if a student is hired for more than one project, keeping in mind that this particular program will only fund one micro-internship per student, up to the 110 students in total. So if a student is selected for more than one project, they should accept the project really that best aligns with their interests and their career goals, and then withdraw from the other projects as soon as possible. However, if a student remains confirmed on multiple projects, Parker Dewey will then contact and reach out to the student and really update that particular project selections to really ensure that our students are only engaged in one confirmed micro-internship project. There is no cost to employers. We really wanted to lift that burden from employers. So through our state funding, we are covering all costs, student compensation, and all administrative fees. So there will never, ever be a cost to employers in this particular program. Finally, students and employers must complete these required modules and training and then submit their post-program evaluation, but we'll be discussing some of those particular requirements in detail momentarily. Next slide. And so as we're kind of just breaking down the criteria even more of who can participate in this particular program, again, for our students, they should be current students from a nonprofit, public, or private 2-year or 4-year Virginia college or university. They need to be at least 18 years of age and authorized to work in the U.S. or has an ITIN. They also need to complete Module 1 from our VTOP Career Readiness modules, which we'll talk about in a moment. For our organizations or our companies and our employers, they must be for profit, as I mentioned earlier, or nonprofit organizations. They can be government, public, or private agencies. Again, they must be Virginia based organizations with physical operations in the state. They must be in good standing with the SEC. Additionally, there are certain kind of trainings they would need to complete, and they also need to make sure that they dedicate a staff member who will serve as this supervisor to the particular micro intern. More details coming up in a later slide.
So, how this is going to work for students, we're going to have Lauren talk about the module, but then after they're done with that, they're going to create a Parker Dewey account. They're going to review the opportunities and apply. If they get selected, they'll work on that project. For those of you who are already familiar with Parker Dewey, you know that we are here to support them along the way. We're going to be checking in, asking, have you been able to connect with your supervisor? How are things going? And if they run into any challenges as they're doing the micro internship, we are here to support them and help them navigate whatever has come up. We're also reviewing the opportunities to make sure they've met the criteria that Lauren and her team have set. Again, when the students get paid, they will be paid by Parker Dewey. We are the employer of record. So before digging into their experience a little further, back to Lauren to talk about that training.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Danielle. So the students only need to complete one module from our career readiness skills course. The module is listed on the screen. They only need to do module one, which is career and self-development. So thinking again, the overall course really allows our students to understand the NACE competencies that employers say that they value. And then it integrates the student reflection, completing these assignments to help really our students to articulate their skills in meaningful ways. That one module takes students about 45 minutes to 1 hour to complete. After they complete the module, on their screen, it'll say, congratulations, you completed module one. After that, I would be receiving the results of that. And so I'll have a list of all of the students who completed module one. I would forward that information to Parker Dewey. As part of the students' Parker Dewey profile, there'll be one item that states, have you completed your module one? That's just to confirm that they did, but I would be already providing that verification to Parker Dewey so that the student can continue to move forward in the process.
So, as promised, a little bit of a view for those who aren't familiar about what the experience of Parker Dewey looks like after they've completed that module. When they first create their account, they'll be prompted to set up a profile. This is very similar to a LinkedIn or a Handshake profile. And we want to make sure that applying for projects is easy. So they put this information once, they can update it at any time, but it gets attached to every project they apply for instead of them having to put in this information for every single one. Now, some of the details they put in can really make a difference in whether they get selected. Small things like adding a brief personal statement and some highlighted experience, and definitely uploading a resume. I always like to clarify too. We know a lot of students are really interested in micro internships because they're hoping to build their first professional experience. So this doesn't have to be internships or jobs. In the experience section, they could have class projects, extracurricular or passion projects, anything that details the skills that they're hoping to apply to a professional opportunity. Now, once they have set up their profile, that's when they can start looking for the opportunities. So when they look at their dashboard, they're going to see a section called Featured Projects. Anything in here is either really looking for a lot of candidates or is especially featured to students based on something in their profile. So in this case, this is an example of the type of project we might see, and this is featured because I have Virginia Commonwealth University as my institution. When they look at these projects, they can scroll through to look at different titles, and underneath, they're going to see all those projects that are open to any student using the Parker Dewey platform. So to some of the questions we've been seeing in the chat, these funded projects are going to show up here in featured. Now, students aren't necessarily going to know where the funding is coming from. They just know that they're getting paid for the project, but they're going to show up in featured because those projects are exclusively available for that eligible Virginia talent. But students can also look at the other opportunities. They can only do one of the funded Virginia projects, but they're welcome to apply to as many other open to all projects and be selected for as many of the other open to all projects as they like. If they decide they're interested in a project based on the title, they can hit the drop down to learn more about the opportunity. This is where they're going to see the description provided by the company that's been reviewed by the Parker Dewey team before being posted. They'll see when the company is hoping to have the project start, so when they're hoping to have someone selected by, and when they'd like it to be completed. As Lauren highlighted, this is determined by the company when they post the opportunity. So they're thinking about, do I want these 15 hours to be done in a really quick time frame? Do I have a little bit more flexibility? And the micro intern has that knowledge before they even apply. Most projects are remote, and again, they see right here what they will be paid if they are selected for and complete the micro internship. So again, for all of these projects funded by this program, the micro intern will earn $315. If they decide they are interested in the opportunity, they will hit apply. And the first question is always going to be, why do you think we should select you for this opportunity? So, as you are preparing your students to apply, this is a great question to practice with them. Now, this is not intended to be an essay. Again, it's supposed to be easy for students to apply for micro internships. Typically, 2 to 4 sentences can be really effective. But if you can work with them on that STAR method to describe a little situation, task, action, and a result from something they've did that demonstrated these skills, that can really be impactful. And to what was already highlighted, for all of these projects posted through this program, there's going to be the question making sure the students are verifying that they have done that required step. They're also going to see a few yes or no questions. The employers are ultimately the ones selecting the micro interns, and they are not going to see the answers to these yes or no questions. These just give us at Parker Dewey some really valuable insights. For instance, we've seen with these questions that students and recent graduates are far more likely to engage in a micro internship with a company that they didn't know about before than they are to engage in a traditional internship or a full-time role with a company that wasn't on their radar. And that makes a lot of sense. It's a much less of a commitment, so it doesn't feel as intense. And obviously, if that company wasn't on their radar, it's not like they were watching their job board. But all that to say is if you have employers you're working with in the state of Virginia who have been asking you, how do I get in front of your students? How do I make your students aware of who we are? How do we engage your talent? The data shows that this is a great way to do it. Once they've applied for the micro internship, they'll know their status in the applied tab. If the application is inactive, that means they're still being considered for the opportunity. If it's moved to past, that's how they know they weren't picked for that particular project. So this was introduced because we want to make sure students have an idea of where they are. Some employers will take the time to respond to applications. Some might even give feedback, but depending on how long they left it open or how many applicants they received, that may not be realistic. So we want students to know where they are. Once they get selected, it will move to the selected tab and the student will be notified and they will get the contact information for the professional at the company and they'll also get our success checklist. So this is going to give them guidance for how to professionally connect with that professional at the company. They're going to get the forms to get paid from Parker Dewey. Again, we are the folks who will get their payment dispersed to them. They'll get a reminder of our terms of service and other resources to help them be successful. With the Virginia projects, there's the check-in at the beginning and the check-in at the end. So we give them templates. So when they're having these meetings, students have guidance as to what should I be trying to get out of this? So when they have check-ins, whether it's emails or the calls at the beginning and end, they're thinking about what have I done? What questions do I have at this point? How can I make sure that expectations are aligned and I'm making a good impression through this experience? And we see that even though these are short-term experiences, they are ultimately really impactful ones. As Lauren mentioned earlier, we ask recent micro interns, what, if any, impact do you feel that your micro internship had on your career readiness? And when we say career readiness, what we mean are these NACE career readiness competencies. So for every competency, they could report, didn't make a difference. That would be this blue box here, the shortest one in each of these areas. They could say, I feel like I'm at the same level of ability, but I'm more confident. Or they can indicate that they improved a little or a lot. As you can see, that dark green bar where they're reporting, this helped me improve a lot in this area, is the most common response across all 8 of the career competencies, signifying again that these are short, they're accessible, but they are impactful. And we also see this in the stories and the testimonials that we hear from students. We've had students from all different types of industries, all different types of majors, from first year students to recent graduates, all different degree levels, talking about how this helped them figure out what they wanted to do, how it helped them feel more comfortable accepting a long-term position that otherwise they maybe weren't sure would have been the right fit, or helped them realize before they committed to something, oh, I thought this was what I wanted to be doing, but I realized during this project that this isn't actually the best fit for me, my passions, or my skills. We also see folks who have said this helped them to gain the experience they needed to complete their programs. Basically, there are just such a variety of ways that these micro internships, while still being accessible, while still being easy to engage in, help students accomplish their unique career goals. So, how it works for companies. Now that we have covered the career side or the student side of things, I want to show you the company side as well. They are going to complete that required training. That is the first step, but then they'll be able to post their opportunities, select their micro intern, and make sure that experience gives finalized so they can give feedback. I'm going to show you what that looks like too, but before we dig in, over to Lauren for more information about that training.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Danielle. So, as we mentioned earlier, employers will be required to complete one training. So, they will need to attend our Parker Dewey Employer webinar on April the 30th. So, please let your employer partners know about that webinar on April 30th. They can then watch. If they're not able to attend, watch the April 30th webinar recording. Embedded into that recording will be a verification that they actually watched that to ensure that we can track who actually were able to watch that so that we can have a list of those employers who actually met that requirement. Or they can attend one of our VTOP micro-internship employer webinars. I will be hosting those the first and third Tuesday of each month, beginning May 5th. So if your employer partners cannot attend the webinar on April 30th, or they don't have time to watch the webinar, I would be offering micro-internship employer webinars on those dates listed there. Really, during these particular sessions, it will be an opportunity to really learn kind of what we're doing today. Learn more about micro-internships and how they work, learn more about this particular program, project examples, thinking through again as we are thinking about our program, how do we provide these high level and high quality experiences for our students? I will be talking about the SB 1280 work group competencies and standards and definitions and why that's critical to this particular program. And then again, how these particular opportunities, not only are they paid, they offer flexible opportunities. We cover all costs, and they are also accessible to our students to really help them to gain their professional experiences across the state of Virginia. Thank you, Danielle.
So, talking about that employer experience, what is it actually like for them to be posting projects? The burden of figuring out what a good project is does not fall on them alone. That is part of what Parker Dewey is here to help with. So we give them examples of different types of projects. They get access to our project library when they create an account. And if something catches their eye, they can start with that as a template. I do need to sign into my employer account real quickly here. Thanks for bearing with me, folks. So when they go to create their projects, if they're using a template, some of the information is pre-populated for them. And then what they're going to do is make sure that they look at this program section. Now, I see to the question in the chat, is there a page we'll be able to share with your employers? Yes, and it's going to have these instructions, but again, they need to go to that training first. That is also where a lot of this is going to be covered. So when they go to that program, there's going to be the Virginia Micro-Internship Experience. They'll just select that option, and then you'll see that there was that adjustment in the screen. What that is doing is changing it. So it's just going to be what is covered by this program. So your employers don't have to remember what's covered. They don't have to, they just need to pick the Virginia Micro-Internship Experience, and that is going to be preset for them. They can detail what skills they're looking for. They can make adjustments based on their unique needs to what they're looking for in the project. They can adjust the start and end date, but what is covered is preset, and it's also going to preload these questions related to the program. So this is where it's going to ask the students again to verify, have you done the required training? And it's also got some other questions associated with the project. Any of these other ones, if it's with a template, they can remove, they can adjust, but they cannot remove why should we select you? Well, sorry, emailing. And they cannot remove the question about the Virginia experience. Now, when they hit post a project, that is when it's going to come to our team for review to make sure that there is a specific deliverable, that it's professional, that it can reasonably complete it in the number of hours that this program is funding. And then after that project is posted and live for students to see and apply, as we showed that process, the company will be able to see the candidates. They'll be able to review the information that they've put in their profiles, and they'll be able to respond or review to those short answer applications. Now, only for those students who have applied to their opportunity, the companies do have the ability to message them in platform. So they might ask for a quick Zoom interview if the project they're looking for them to complete requires strong interpersonal skills. But a lot of times, employers will make selections based on just a combination of those two things, the student's profile and the application responses. So that is why we so appreciate all of you who work with students, helping your students make sure their profiles are complete and that they're answering those questions thoughtfully and that they are proofreading both. And then next step, they're going to work with the micro-intern. As established for this program, they're going to want to meet with the micro-intern twice, at least once at the start and then once at the end to give feedback. And that meeting at the start is, allowing them to get to know that employer. So the student is expanding their network. They're getting all the context and the resources and everything else necessary to do a great job on that project. Now, in between those two meetings, how they work with each other is really up to the student and the company. Some employers might decide to have regular check-ins, as long as those fit within the bounds of the timeline expectations. Others might decide to do emails back and forth. Again, on the student side, they are provided with templates for both kinds of check-ins to help them do this confidently and professionally. If the company has questions, we are here and happy to help, just like we're here as a support system for the students. Sometimes in life things come up. We've had students doing micro-internships who have gotten sick, who have had an issue in the family. If something occurs where they're not able to complete the project, or if for some reason they're having trouble communicating with the employer, those are exactly the types of things that we are here to help them navigate and communicate and figure out so everyone's still making a positive impression. And then when the project is complete, that employer will be able to give the student feedback. Now, on the employer side, they're able to give feedback on things like their overall satisfaction, their communication, the quality of the project, and it's a similar scale, but they are saying either, I was hoping for more, or this is about as is expected from an intern or someone who is very early in their career. They could indicate that it's impressive, or they could say, this student nailed it. They executed this piece like an industry veteran. And as you can see across the board, very similar to what we see in terms of the outcomes from the student perspective, the employers are deeply impressed with the work these micro-interns are doing. So really great opportunity for your students to demonstrate the skills, the critical thinking, and what they are bringing to the professional table. So how does this help you? Kind of going back to that earlier slide with what are our goals at Parker Dewey? And it's to help our students, our employers, and all of our schools to be able to make more meaningful connections and allow everybody to feel each other out so folks end up in places that are a good longer-term fit. This is going to support your students who may be struggling to engage or not aware of or overlooked when it comes to traditional recruiting methods. It's also going to allow those all-star students that may struggle with things like transportation or time to be able to engage as well. It is a fantastic way to offer something meaningful and effective to your existing employers, alumni, or friends that you have engaged with your department. So those folks that are coming to your career fairs, that are tabling on campus, that always show up when you say, we need an employer for resume reviews, or we need someone to make donations to the career closet. Those folks that you want to give back to, this is your opportunity to say, hey, our fabulous friends, you can engage our students in a paid project, and it's not going to cost you anything. And it's also a great way to start building relationships with new organizations because you have this opportunity for them to see your talent in action at no cost to them. And very similar to what we see from students, the employers and the schools are loving it. From the school side of things, it's easy. It allows you to be able to see your students engaging in meaningful ways. It allows you to reach new employers. It allows you to build meaningful relationships. I won't bore all of you by reading the full testimonials, especially since we're limited on time, but the short of it is, this is going to help you do what you do effectively and the funding behind it. So, how to get started? Basically, the best thing you can do to make this work well is to make sure that you are sharing it out, getting it in front of those friends that you know would be fantastic hosts for these opportunities. So, I know we've already made a couple of allusions to that April 30th webinar. That is part of the required piece. So, please, please, please make sure you are sharing that. We have resources to make that easy that are going to be included in these slides. So get the word out there about the webinar at the end of the month. After you've shared with employers, because the program doesn't work until the projects are there. So employers are priority number one, but a very close priority number two, only in terms of time, not in terms of importance, is sharing it with your students, making sure that they are aware that there is an accessible, paid way for them to try out companies, try out careers, and see where their skills fit. We are also here as a resource. So schedule time with us. We want to connect with you. We want to hear about your unique employer's challenges. What industries are they trying to hire for? What hurdles are they coming up against? We have not come up against an industry or a challenge yet that we have not been able to identify an appropriate micro internship for to help solve that problem. And that's because we do this all the time. So if you are hitting a wall or having trouble explaining to an employer how this would work for their industry, bring us into the conversation. Both of us, Lauren, our team, we are here to help. So, why you should share this with your employers? Also, just want to say again, because it's creating accessible opportunities for your students, but it's also a real win for you as you're building these employer relationships. It's a great way if you have employers who come to the career fair. And when I worked in career services, sometimes I'd hear from employers that, oh, I was hoping to see more of XYZ major at my table, or traffic was a little light. If you've ever run into anything like that, micro internships are such a fantastic thing to suggest. To be able to say, well, those students may not always be able to come in person, but you know where they'd love to engage is in a flexible micro internship. Or before the fair, encourage the employer to use it as a draw to their table. Put in their description or put out on social media that we have a micro internship we'll be offering to students who visit our table. It's a great way to really increase that engagement. It deepens the relationships with your existing employer partners because it shows them that you are working together with them to try and create more opportunities for them to engage your students in meaningful ways. For those employers that, for one reason or another, just may not be able to come to campus, it gives them a way to still be able to reach your students. Again, for this program, they still need to be in the state of Virginia. We know it's a big state, so it allows them across the state to be able to engage. And again, the real big thing, coming from career services myself, this is the thing that gets me most excited. It's not only creating more opportunities for your students, but it is creating opportunities that are accessible to all of your students. So, as you're thinking about this, when was the last time you had an employer who said, how can I do more with your school? How can I reach talent earlier? What does it look like to really be able to engage your students well? Or maybe you had an employer who said, I'd love to engage your students, but I just don't have the budget. Or maybe someone who had needs but didn't have a full-time role, or maybe they didn't have the bandwidth for a full traditional internship at that time. These are the employers. So hopefully, as I'm saying these things, you're thinking, oh, yeah, I did have that conversation last week, or right after the career fair, or before the career fair. I did have a conversation with an employer Those are the folks. So hopefully one of the things you're going to do after this webinar is reflect on these categories and those conversations and start making your internal lists about where folks fit. Because again, sharing with employers is key. I know we're running short on time, so I won't spend too much here, but you can see in the numbers, schools who share with employers tend to see vastly more success with micro internships than those who do not. So you are in a real position of power here to share this widely and create those opportunities. We see employers using Parker Dewey in a variety of different ways. Again, those folks who just have on-demand project support needs can use it, but this is ultimately a really valuable recruiting tool. And this is your chance to help employers see that at no cost. If they want to hire someone for a traditional internship or a full-time role, this is going to allow them to see in a real and meaningful way if that candidate from your institution has the skills that are going to make them a good fit. If they're trying to build awareness, we have a lot of employers who have realized that waiting until junior or senior year, you're missing out on a lot of candidates that could have been a great fit for your industry, but just didn't make their decisions about major or classes with that industry in their mind as a possibility. This is a great way for with straightforward projects for those employers to reach talent earlier. Again, I know that we are short on time, so we have some great examples in the slides, real case studies that you're going to be able to review to see how employers use this not only to hire with confidence, but also to confirm fit. Do want to take a moment, though, to make sure we highlight some of the data-driven outcomes. We see that recent graduates who have engaged in micro internships are significantly more likely to stay in their first full-time role for longer than a year. So if you're having conversations with employers, this is another one to add to the list in your head, and they've said, man, we love hiring your students, but we have a hard time keeping them. If for some reason those students are turning over in less than a year, that might be an opportunity for the employers to try that talent out with a micro internship first. Again, it allows everybody to make more informed decisions about where their best fit is going to be. Because hiring via micro internships reduces turnover, it is unbelievably cost effective for your employers. And I've mentioned my background a couple of times, but this is what really fuels it again. The reach and the opportunity for differing students is what really gets me excited, and what I imagine is really exciting for a lot of those in the room today as well. When we look at the students selected for micro internships, over 80% of them come from historically underrepresented populations in the workplace. Now, when we look at traditional paid internships, barely more than a quarter of those opportunities are going to those underrepresented populations. And that just speaks to the fact that even if an opportunity is paid, which is important, but even if it's paid, if a student doesn't have time, if they don't have transportation, if they don't have awareness of that company, it's not accessible. With Parker Dewey and micro internships, that changes drastically. And again, for those companies that maybe aren't hiring, but they've got just a project they need, it's eligible and something that they can use as well. As promised, this is the slide where you're going to have all the materials you need to be able to share that employer webinar. That is your next step after, well, first thinking of those employers where you've had those conversations, but the next step is after you've made that list in your mind, share these resources, get that word out. You are, again, in the position of power to be able to make this successful by sending it out to your employers. And then reminder too, we've also got resources with students. So sharing with employers and populating those opportunities are going to be the first priority in terms of time, but sharing with students too to emphasize that these are real, these are paid, that it's going to help them potentially get a longer term opportunity with the company they micro intern with. But even if that's not a fit, having that experience on their resume is going to make them more competitive for other types of roles. We also have resources to support your students as well, monthly webinars where we walk them through step by step. Here's best practices for creating your profile. Here's best practices for responding to that question, why should we select you? And for students who want less of a presentation and more of an exchange, we also have monthly student office hours so we can answer their questions or review their profiles or coach them on how to better answer these questions. And very similar to what we have for employers, there are resources to share this with your students as well. Everyone who registered are going to receive the recording and the slides, so it won't go through step by step, but please do not hesitate to schedule meetings with us because we are always just oh so happy to dig into these resources with you on a deeper level. So again, everything is created for you. We want this to be easy. That is Parker Dewey's goal. Easy for you, easy for the employers, easy for the students, meaningful outcomes. So please make sure that you are sharing this information. Invite your employers to the Virginia webinar on April 30th. Then share the program with your students. As soon as you start seeing those Virginia opportunities coming through, make sure your students are on top of them so they're learning, they're growing, and even if they are not getting selected for all of those projects, they're building a real and meaningful awareness of the breadth of opportunity there is in the state of Virginia. Connect with us because, again, our goal is to help, and we can only do it if we know what your challenges are. So let us know if you're running into anything. We want to support you. And then I'll let Lauren wrap up to talk about how she can connect with her or how you can connect with her.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Danielle. We thank you all so much for coming out today, the launch of our Virginia Micro-Internship Experience. We are so excited. If you have any specific program questions or inquiries or how you can connect your students as well as the employers to this particular opportunity, please feel free to reach out to me as well. I represent the State Council of Higher Education for Virginia through the Virginia Talent and Opportunity Partnership through VTOP. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm Lauren Jackson. My email is listed there. If you have any questions, we're more than happy to connect with you all. We thank you so much for stopping by today. If you have any questions, let us know. We thank you so much for supporting the talent here in the great state of Virginia. Have a wonderful day. We appreciate you so much. Take care. Bye bye.
And we will cut the recording there, but I know the chat was really going off. Annie, is there anything that should be top of mind for us for folks that are still hanging around?
So I think something if we want to hang back, I don't know if Candace is still here. It's just too much to write where there really shouldn't be a lot of costs associated with working with a micro intern other than to pay the student for their work. Um, Typical work that requires background checks is not something that we typically advise. Hi, Candace, that we typically advise for micro internships. For example, students should not have access to social security numbers or personal banking information or anything related to HIPAA, etc. We understand that this program is special in that being in the Commonwealth and so close to governmental agencies that you might have some specific employers in mind who have specific red tape or hurdles. And we'd love to talk one-on-one about what that can be like and how we can best assist those employers so they can still participate.
Perfect example of getting Parker Dewey involved. Like we've had folks in healthcare and education. Micro internships are never going to involve working directly with what we refer to as vulnerable populations. So they're not going to be in the classroom or, in the hospital, but we have been able to identify great projects. One of our most recent success stories was someone who got hired in the healthcare system full time as a result of micro internships. And it allowed the employer to assess the necessary skills without ever having to have them do those things that would require the background check. So that's where we've been doing this a long time. Use our knowledge, let us know the specific instances, and we can figure it out. Promise you.
Candace, your follow-up question about Handshake. Danielle, I'll let you take that one.
What was the question?
If we're posting about the program on Handshake
We
and
do
how.
have a Handshake account, and we have kind of a standing post that says micro internships are available on Parker Dewey. So would encourage you, to make sure if you haven't already that you've approved Parker Dewey as an employer on Handshake so students can see that. Something else a lot of our partners who are Handshake schools will do is in the resources section of Handshake, they'll share information about Parker Dewey. We have some language that if you wanted to reach out to us, we'd be happy to share for you to pop in there. And you can also add the specific details about this Virginia program as well. So they know, hey, not only are there opportunities over on Parker Dewey, there are some opportunities that are only available to those of us in the state of Virginia to give them that extra incentive to check it out. Oh, so I think the question from Candace is, have we already sent a targeted email to Virginia employers? Annie, I'll let you speak to that one.
Um, I will have to check. I will say again, it's not like I think the message would be ill-received if they heard it from one person and another person. So I would say go ahead and shout it from the mountaintops. We want everybody to miss this or not miss this. And again, our contact might be a different individual than you have. So I'm all for cross-posting, cross-promote, tell everybody, ask if they heard about it. If not, come on down. We'll see you at the webinar.
And I could jump in as well, Candace. We also have an employer template. So if you reach out to me, I can forward that employer template to you. So you don't have to create that from scratch. We already have that language that we can provide for you. So feel free to email me. I'll put my information in the chat again and I will send that to you.
And our follow-up email after today's webinar will include a plethora of resources related to the program. This is not meant to add more to your plates. We really want to save time, energy, and make this program a wonderful opportunity for your students and employers without being a time suck on your end, to be honest.
So this slide right here, like when you get the slides, if you click on that, it's going to download the language for the email. So it is going to be coming to you. Oh, thank you for the great questions. We appreciate it. It's always nice to know there are folks who are alive and engaged on the other side of a webinar.
Yes.
We had some great questions today. Good chat.
Anything
Well,
else that
those,
we missed, Annie?
I think that was everything. I'm so excited for this next step. I don't think we had any employers that came in on accident. That was
Oh,
kind of
good.
fun.
Then we will see them at the end of the month. That is the goal. We
yes.
I
appreciate everyone
know.
being here to get started. Oh, Annie, there's a question about when the project's officially open.
Mm.
Great question. So technically, an employer will be able to start posting after the webinar on the 30th. We'll be able to validate that they've attended and that they meet all of the eligibility requirements that were outlined today. So technically, they could begin starting May 1st onward. But again, we'll just have to kind of see projects that are approved as they come through. But I would definitely, to be safe, recommend, hey, mid-May, go ahead and start checking. And I recognize that that is peak finals season, so we appreciate you sharing the message out whenever you think is best for your particular student population.
All right, folks. With that, unless there's any more pressing questions, and if you think of anything after the webinar, because I know that is how my brain operates, we will be again sending out the slides, and we're always happy to meet one-on-one. But if there are no other pressing questions today, we will go ahead and close down the webinar. Thank you all so much for your time. We really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.